Welcome to the CRE with CBC Worldwide Podcast, Women of Coldwell Banker Commercial Edition, where we highlight real stories, smart strategies, and current trends from women leading the way in commercial real estate. I am your host, Jenna Hille, and whether you're growing your career, leading a team, or just love staying close to what's happening in the industry, I'm really glad you're here. Today, I am joined by Saadia Shaikh, a global commercial real estate leader known for helping organizations navigate complex, multi-market decisions with clarity and confidence. She is the youngest female global president of SIOR, one of 6 total, representing more than 4,000 industry leaders across 50 plus countries, and she's deeply focused on inclusive leadership and building strong global networks. She is also the founder and CEO of PowerSense, a collaborative advisory platform working across U.S. gateway and growth markets. With over 16 years in the industry, she brings a people-first, globally informed perspective to everything she does. Saadia, welcome. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you, Jenna. I just want to say it's amazing that you're leading this podcast and informative to a smart, bold audience.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I get to share your story with them as well. I'd love just to jump right in. Tell us about your path into commercial real estate. What sparked your interest? What helped you discover advisory services? How did you get started?
Okay, well, I love this story because it's very unique. I knew nothing about commercial real estate when I was in college. I was just a business administration major, Dallas, Texas, UT Dallas. And I went to a career fair. And it was mainly engineering and some other industry types, but one booth was commercial real estate. And I was like, what is this? What is commercial real estate and what is brokerage? And of course, they invited students to an open house. We got to see different divisions between occupier services, project management, portfolio services, business development. It was amazing. And then they were calling for internships. I applied, got it, and the rest is history. So my entry was stumbling across it. But what got me really excited, where I continued on internships and started with my first brokerage firm out of college, was because I was fascinated by the fact that this wasn't about houses, wasn't about residential. What does commercial even mean? And literally that every single business in the world needs space. Owns it, leases it, people invest in it. So it was exciting to me that I could find a way to help businesses specifically make real estate decisions. And I thought that was cool at the time.
That is really,
That was it.
yeah, that's beautiful because, that commercial real estate, it can be really intimidating for people not in the industry. And that's, a joke with a friend of mine is whenever I don't really want to talk to someone on a plane, I'm just like, I'm in commercial real estate and there's no follow-up questions and we want to talk. And then if I go into more detail about like strategy and what I actually do, then they have follow-up questions. But most people don't know to ask about industrial or retail. And to your point, every business needs a place to go as well, not just residential. And I think that's part of the intrigue with the commercial real estate is, one of the things I always loved about it is the creativity, what you can put into your community, into your neighborhood, which I thought was really great. And so at what point in your internship did you really feel like you were starting to get into the groove and wanting to specialize and maybe expand into the industry more?
It was also 2009, so things were really tough. But I decided I'm going to continue on the internships. I went straight into brokerage. I went straight to working with a local firm. And it was commission only. Here's your phone. You have an iPhone. Use your own phone. and, and, make some calls. Use your network. Figure out we're here to help you. So I had to live at home for the first few years. Hey, that's what you did then.
Absolutely. You do it.
And it was commission only.
Yes.
Pretty sure my parents were like, what does that mean that you don't get $1? But every year I stuck with it and I made more and more. And I enjoyed it. So funny part of that story is I actually started out in industrial and I was walking warehouses in GSW, for those who know submarkets in DFW, which is around the airport. And my job was to walk into warehouses and ask them what they were doing. what were they building? What are you making? And what are you doing about this whole space? And do you need more or less? Or, what's the situation? That was fascinating. I also learned that I didn't love it after a couple years of focusing on industrials and asset class and brokerage. I had some success, but I noticed all the office brokers being a little more polished and walking in office buildings and looked a little more glamorous. And I said, there was way less women in industrial than there were in office. Um, so I thought that might be an opportunity, but it wasn't about being a woman or not. It was about what do I actually like? And I started transitioning into the office tenor up side. So that's just a side quick funny story of, testing it out and being okay to pivot asset classes.
And that's really a strong theme in a lot of people's career, that, theme of flexibility and curiosity is you're starting in one area and it's completely fine to say, I kind of like this, but not enough, and pivot into something else, regardless of how you started or where you got in there. And there's definitely different associations with industrial versus office, different outfits for office versus being able to walk through a plant in the industry. So a lot of differences there. And how did that transition into office go for you? Were there struggles? Was it a pretty seamless transition rather?
Well, it was interesting because at that point, being a few years in the industry, people talk about building your network or your relationships. I started doing CCIM right out of college because I wanted to get the education. So I was like, I'm already in learner's mode. I'm going to go ahead and do this Master's of Real Estate Finance type program, which was CCIM. And they had classes in my city. So it was great. It was an investment. I actually applied for diversity program and got it, which was amazing because it was hard to afford it at the time. So all of that kind of worked out for me. I got that education. So then I started serving on committees with a local chapter. So then I started getting to know people.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point was I got to know people that I could ask questions who were successful, that could help me, that weren't just in my own company. I was a small local firm at the time. So that helped me tremendously, just kind of ease into, and I also had joined CRE. So not to make this
Good.
all about industry organizations, but it
No.
helped me out early on. And CRE Dallas, I was able to, again, meet others, but from different facets. So from the development side, the legal side, the architecture side. So that helped me with a little more well-rounded than CCM was also education and brokerage. But then CRE gave me that, okay, I could connect with people who work in title and architecture and you name it. And so then when I was really trying to understand office and what the opportunities were, where I should focus, I got great guidance where I worked because there's people who've already done it, brokers who've been doing it. But it was different getting that network where people are really trying to help you. And they happen to be women. So that was even greater because they shared other insights. So that kind of helped me make that transition into office a little more palatable.
Yes, and I know trade organizations, first out, bias. I used to work at the CCIM Institute. I love them. CBC, we're big proud of all of the CCIM designations that we have in our network, and they really are, first class in terms of the education and the commercial real estate. And they've also got that networking, and between CCIM and CRE, and then now SIOR, as you're saying, it helps you network with different folks in different areas, and really helps you. It sounded like it really helps you got clarity in where you wanted to go, and then helps you get there. When
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
and when did you
Mhm.
start in with SIOR?
Okay, so the journey
The
continues.
journey continues.
From there, I was really looking towards working on more national business or noticing all these companies kind of are headquartered in other places. And I want to be a part of why they come here or why they choose a different city or area. Like, I want to strategically level up to being a part of those conversations and an advisor. So I was like, okay, in order to do that, I think it's time to switch firms. So I had switched firms to a local firm, a newer firm, but they were doing national business. And which fast forward, that firm went on to sell to one of the global firms. But at the time when I joined that firm, my last firm had CCIMs and SIORs in the office. But this next firm, really, because they were an independent firm, not part of a global firm, they had a ton of SIORs. And I was like, well, what's this designation? And then I realized, in our pitches and things we were doing, they were leveraging the SIOR network. They were leveraging top brokers in different markets to connect with and work with. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do national work, I need to have a national network. I'm at the right firm. But what's this SIOR thing and how can I get there? And at the time, they had just launched the member associate program. So for those who don't know, for SIOR, it's kind of like the top 1% of brokers. It's basically you qualify, and each market has different qualifications, but you have to have so much revenue and references and ethics. So I realized those thresholds were so high for someone I was still only, I was 5 years into the business or so. But the member associate program allowed you to have some revenue and performance and still be able to join and be a part of it and learn and grow until I could get to the point to get to my designation. So while I was at that firm, my career grew, my client base grew, my expertise grew. I started doing national work, and then I qualified for SIR, which was awesome. And so that's when I joined SIOR, and it kind of gave me a totally different leg up and experience, people to talk to, people to network with. So that was, again, I was doing national portfolio work at this point, representing companies that had multiple locations. And it's been great ever since.
And again, I mentioned this in your introduction. You are the youngest female SIOR president. Congratulations. And I think did I get that right? There was only 6 female presidents out of 86 or 84?
84.
84. Yes. So a fantastic accomplishment. Really happy to see more women in these leading roles. So congratulations on really using that curiosity and strategy to get to where you are and then continuing to grow that. How has that really shaped your leadership voice within the CRE community?
Well, it would be important to share a little bit about how I got there, to stepping up to even applying and running for being president of SIOR Global. It seems like a huge step, but what's important is what happened to get there, which was I pivoted from after 4 great years at that local national firm. I was ready to have another experience, and I pivoted to working for a global firm. I considered the different, the major firms. I interviewed and found the right place for me, and that happened to be JLL at the time. And so moving from local firm, local business, local firm, national business to global firm, global business was awesome. And I started at JLL Dallas, then I went to JLL New York. So even that transition was, again, another leadership experience I wanted and multi-market, different market experience that I wanted. And all during that time that I transitioned, I was also went back and got my master's on the weekends.
Yes.
Because I was like, all these decision makers have this education. I want to speak the language of business. I was at that point 10 years into the business, and I said, I can speak the language of real estate, but I want to speak the language of business better. So that was a personal growth decision I made. And that's when I took on true leadership roles while being able to still be client facing and have clients, which is very rare. But that's when I realized I want to give in a leadership way. And I was still involved with SIOR, but I was at a global firm. So I was like, how do I balance these two? And I realized what I loved about SIOR, and I think global firms are great. I loved that SIOR had been a part of my journey of every size firm I had been at. And there was people from all different firms of all different sizes. And the ones from the global firms to the local firms all collaborated and wanted to help each other. And I could learn from them. And I'm doing deals in different markets. So I realized, wow, this really is a unique experience and place and people that I want to contribute more to learn and grow myself. So I ended up running for the position, got elected, and that was 3 years ago. It's a process, and now here we are, president of the organization. So that was my why and my how into that leadership role.
I appreciate you going through that because, again, all of the hard work and dedication that I heard from you in going to school to get your master's on the side for business while also still doing that client facing and applying for all these leadership roles. How were you able to kind of juggle and maintain all of that in such a short amount of time.
You know, I won't use the word balance because I don't think that truly exists. But it was just I was excited and passionate about it. So so I made it work.
Yeah.
I figured it out. Now I look back, I'm like, okay, how did I do those things? But I realized the common denominator was I was into it. I was excited about different things I was doing. It's like when I moved to New York, I joined a volleyball team. I was excited about that. I made time for it, right? Because that was important to me. You know, the masters at the time, the leadership roles within different organizations. So for me, it was kind of about uh, where I saw I was actually getting excited was where I was spending time, and you can make it work if you want to.
And are we still playing volleyball, or have we sunset that?
You know, I'm traveling a little bit more with this role. So I'm not the best teammate of consistency, missing games from week to week. So, but I do get out and play. But,
Good.
you know,
It's good. It's good to have those kind of hobbies
not a
that keep
teammate.
you, and that's other networking as well, in addition to all the trade organizations, and then, CRE, SIOR, and all those connections, and, volleyball. There's connections there too, obviously, of course. But I do
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate, how intentional you are about how you are showing up, and I want to talk a little bit more about Power Sense and that the founding of that advisory firm that you have. Talk to me a little bit about when that factored into all of the things you just mentioned in the past few years. You're getting your master's, you're doing the senior leadership, you're the SIOR global vice president, and you're launching your own advisory firm here. Tell me a little bit more about how that decision came to be and how that launch went.
I realized that my passion was building and creating something. And the timing worked for me because I wanted to also pour into the SIR leadership role. So again, respecting my role that I had and what I could contribute to that and what I was wanting to contribute to, it was the best time for me to make that pivot. And for me, being able to launch and build something of my own was more driven around how can I grow and learn and empower other people. I've always I've come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I always had that spirit in me, and I knew that that was going to be some point in my journey, and the timing just aligned for me to do that and get and I made that decision before 2 years ahead of when I would be officially president of SIOR. So it's given me that time to build, grow, get in a place, work with great people. And one of the key things that was purpose driven for me with that was being able to partner with people, to partner with other firms. And SIRA really inspired me to do that because I realized how much people were collaborating just through a network. And I decided I'm going to do this through business.
Yes. That's fantastic. So I love that approach too, because and you were talking a little bit about the difference in global and national and some of those firms, and depending on the type of firm, there's not always there is a lot of more collaboration than people think. It's not that we're fighting with some of the larger ones that some of the smaller ones are when you're in those different types of markets. It's actually more of a collaboration, saying here, you take this one and you take that client, and we can help each other out too. So that competition between those things is not always as apparent as people assume. So it's great to hear that you also felt that sense of collaboration among them, and that distinction between community and credentialing as you grow up with your entrepreneur mindset and moving in. Commercial real estate is not something for people to casually dip their toe in. And I had a similar conversation with May Abraham, who's from the Goldie Initiative, but it takes that dedication. It takes that grit. You got to, eat what you kill is a very common turn of phrase. We were living with your parents, commission only. It's very hard, but you really got to persevere and drive through. And it's very clear that, again, you have a lot of intentions with how you're leading, and you have really great perspective for this industry. So I really appreciate you sharing your journey into where you've gotten right now. In terms of navigating a little bit more into kind of trends and what you're seeing in the industry right now, what would you say would be something that tenants are focusing on right now, or something that's a trend that you're noticing in your area?
I think companies are always have to make real estate decisions, but it's always around their business decisions or what's happening in their business. I think what's not just a trend, but here that's pretty consistent is that occupiers want flexibility and clarity. They want you to be able to rise on those two things. They want you to how can you help them be adaptable, adapt to change, flexible in the decisions and strategies they're making, and just be clear about it. Just provide clarity. Like, make it simple, and it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant evolution. Things are changing in their business, not just their real estate deals. So I think they're looking more and more to that true partner to be there for what's going on in their journey. So I would say that's seems like a trend post-COVID. Everyone's saying flexibility in terms of space, but it's flexibility in terms of strategies for business owners, for big companies to small companies. So that's one that really stands out to me. And the other is probably, again, hot topic, AI,
Hey,
technology,
yes,
data. We're in the data business. If you're in the real estate business, you're in the data
yes,
business.
you are.
And it is so crucial right now to be adaptive yourself to what we're learning. But I would say the trend is it is AI and data plus human, plus expert, plus advisor. And that combination is really powerful and it's really successful. And if anything, that translates to winning for sure. I mean, that is the competitive advantage. And I think companies, clients, they notice that, they understand that. And I'll go back to one thing that I forgot to mention around leadership that's really important that drives me. Again, it's not leadership isn't about title. Doesn't matter where you are in your company, it's about what you're doing. But really, one of the big things is the power is in the preparation. It's asking smart questions. It's being curious. That is leadership. Because in what you're turning around and doing is empowering that client, empowering that teammate, empowering that person because you listened. Not just that you listened, leadership is about listening, but it's about understanding. Those are two things that have to go together to me. So that is something that I'm pretty passionate about.
Yes, no, I love those comments on leadership. And, creativity is one of my favorite underrated leadership traits because that curiosity and that, is really helpful in building something new and getting you down different avenues that you might not have experienced before. And, going back to AI, I was teaching an AI course for our CRE Win class the other week, and it's more expanding now into there's not really many limits in the way you can use it unless you do it yourself. You can use it for strategy, you can use it for these data analysis, you can use it in a lot more ways beyond just efficiency. And it's so interesting to see, where that's taken the industry. How is, innovation showing up in the work that you're doing, whether it's in data or AI or advisory, tenant experience?
I am a huge fan of not sticking with the status quo, down to not even using industry jargon or recognizing when we're using our own verbiage that may not be what a client hears or uses every day. So for me, I think innovation every day in what we're doing is finding new ways to support that client or customer in ways we haven't done it before. Like looking at how we're doing something and saying, how can we do it differently? Not for the sake of doing it differently, but because how will this better align with what they need versus what I need? Or how we do our job or how we're comfortable doing it because we've always done transactions this way. So I think the innovative side of what we're doing is leaning more into strategy and being a partner versus transactional deal execution only focused, which a lot of people can say, I'm a broker, I'm an advisor, I do strategy and whatnot. The reality is, in the world of brokerage, you don't get paid to always be the strategic partner or advisor, but you should be. And so we kind of changed our profit model and business model and engagement with clients to include engagement fees, monthly fees, things that really actually resonate and reflect our value in the work we're doing. And that's been working really great.
Yes, I hear this great, I'm hearing some purpose-driven leadership from you, and that's really translating to having better relationships, stronger teams, better client trust, and really a strong foundation to build those relationships further. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm checking our time here, so I want to make sure we pivot to our lightning
Yes.
round questions that I ask all of my guests here. First off, who is a woman in business or leadership you admire right now?
Okay, well, I love Ann Chow. So if you want to find her on LinkedIn, she was a former executive at AT&T. She went through what some would say a retirement, but she calls it a rewirement. I absolutely love everything she's doing right now. So moving from one role or a long-term role or a career into another facet of her career is amazing to see. And her leadership being able to come out in different ways to help others, I think she's awesome. So if anything, check out her LinkedIn.
What a fantastic answer. Thank you for sharing. Our CBC quarterly values are win together, do right, ownership mentality, and big hearted. Which one is resonating with you right now and why?
Win together, because I love the team sport mentality. And I also think right now it's not a you thing or a me thing, it's a we thing. And that win together is such a good mantra.
I love that answer because you're not doing anything alone, whether you think you are. There's someone there helping you. You've had your trades organizations help you with your networking, your mentors. There's always someone in your family helping you along the way. So I think that's really great winning together. And of course, with your volleyball team, winning together on take. And I answered this myself earlier, so a little bit of a sneak peek. But what would you call your most underrated leadership trait, or what do you think is the most underrated leadership trait, rather?
I'm going to go back to listening, discernment, and the follow up. Because sitting in the room and listening, great. The discernment of what to take in, what to roll with, and then actually following up with what you heard, what you understood, whether it's directly with someone or an action you take for the organization or in your role or in your project or with your teammates. Like, I think those three things go together in a flow.
It's a great answer. What is one tool or tech you can't live without at work?
I'm super simple. It's a calendar.
It's
calendar.
Yes. It's not on the
And optimizing the boundaries in your calendar.
Yes.
Put in those 30-minute markers between meetings so you can have a break or walk around the block or drink some water or think or prepare for your next meeting. But your calendar is what your brain is adapting to, and it also externally helps protect what you need to do for your own work and for others. Otherwise, you're back to back all day long and you're sitting in a chair.
And then you just look up and you're like, oh, it's nighttime. No, where did this day go? No, that's absolutely. I always do my best and I try.
Calendar.
Everyone, block
Bested mention.
it. Block your calendar. You can do it. I believe in you. One thing you hope to see more of in commercial real estate over the next 5 years.
I'd like to see just more new people from other industries entering in. Just because I think their perspectives from different industries and what they've done coming into commercial real estate, because it's such an amazing industry. Is there room for innovation and growth? Yes. Is there room for disruption? Absolutely. And I think having those people come in will really help us get to the next level or level up. It's my thought.
Fantastic. And this is my final question for you today. What's giving you hope or energy in the industry right now?
All the next gen leadership asking really smart questions. Like that's what gives me hope and excites me is all those people who are looking at it differently and asking smart questions.
And again, that speaks to your previous answer and like the diversity of backgrounds coming into this industry to be able to help, disrupt the industry, as you said earlier. So I think that's fantastic. I said that was the last question, but I lied to you as we wrap things up here. Where can people connect with you, learn more about your work? Anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
First, I'm honored to join you. So please share where everyone can watch this and follow you. And then LinkedIn, Saadia Shaikh.
Fantastic. Saadia Shaikh, LinkedIn. Let's do it, friends. Okay, we hope you found today's conversation inspiring and insightful. Thank you once again, Saadia, for your time, for being here, sharing your perspective and your journey and the leadership that you bring to our industry. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your network, and be sure to sign up for our newsletter. Until next time, keep leading the way, friends.